नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टाप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। हरि ओम तत्सत्। Reading from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 11, verse number 12, the universal form. Divi Surya Sahasrasya Bhavet Yugapat Uttita Yadi Va Sadrasi Syad Bhashastasya Mahat Manaha. Divi Surya Sahasrasya Bhavet Yugapat Uttita यदि बा सदृशी स्यात् भाषस्तस्य महात्मनः। दिवि सूर्यसहस्रस्य भवेत् युगपत् उत्थिता यदि बा सदृशी सा स्यात् भाषस्तस्य महात्मनः। Word to word. Divi, in the sky, Surya, of suns, Sahasrasya, of many thousands, Bhavet, there were, Yugapat, simultaneously, Uttita, present, Yadi, if, Ba, light, Sadrasi, like that, Sa, that, Syat, might be, Bhasha, effulgence, Tasya, of him, Maha Atmanaha, the great Lord. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. If hundreds of thousands of suns were to rise at once into the sky, their radiance might resemble the effulgence of the Supreme Person in that universal form. Please repeat. If hundreds of thousands of suns were to rise at once into the sky, their radiance might resemble the effulgence of the Supreme Person in that universal form. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. When Arjuna saw, what Arjuna saw was indescribable, yet Sanjaya is trying to give a mental picture of that great revelation to Dhritarashtra. Neither Sanjaya nor Dhritarashtra was present, but Sanjaya, by the grace of Vyasa, could see whatever happened. Thus, he now compares the situation as far as it can be understood to an imaginable phenomena, that is thousands of suns. Try to understand. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanasarapaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langete grim yatkrupa tamaham vande Sri Gurum Devatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Isram Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Krupa Sindhu Bhayevacha Vajdanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Mera Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tadati Swapadantikam. Srila Prabhupada Goswami Prabhupada ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. So thank you all for joining. So we'll try to first go through quickly the sections of this chapter, and then we'll try to see this verse in more detail, and a lot more past tense we'll see relate to the universal form. So there are many instances. Some are with Lord Krishna, some are with other forms of the Lord. We'll try to cover it. Will be very interesting. Nice to hear these descriptions. So chapter 11, we see the universal form, Viswarup Sandarsana Yoga, as at least 5 sections. The 1 to 8 is Arjuna's requesting the universal vision of the universal form, and then Krishna's description of the universal form. There are three times there is the description of the universe. First, Krishna is describing, then Sanjaya is describing to Dhritarashtra, then Arjuna himself is describing. So three times repetition. So just confirming the powers and the supremacy of the Supreme Lord. So 1 to 8 is that, and the 9 to 32 is Sanjaya's description of the universal form of the Lord and of the Arjuna's vision. And then 32 to 34 is Prayam Ayam, Kala, and become my instrument. Then 35 to 46, Arjuna's prayers. And then 47 to 55, the only pure devotees see Krishna's two-armed form. So in this way, these sections are laid out. So as in this verse, we can see how metaphor is also used. The hundreds of thousands of suns were to rise at once into the sky. Their radiance might resemble the effulgence of the Supreme Person in that universal form. So that's what Arjuna is seeing here. Sanjaya is describing. This is the second, first after Krishna, describing that in the 5 to 9, 5 to 8, and then 9 to 14, Sanjaya is describing. So this 12th verse is coming in that section. Sanjaya's description of Arjuna's vision. So, and then we see that similar description. We'll start from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu's mercy. And then we'll go from the Gaur Leela and then go to the Krishna Leela. So here, one of the verses describing how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was also as brilliant as hundreds of suns. Surya Satasama Kanti Aruna Vasana Subalita Prakanda Deha Kamala Lochana. Sri Ramananda Rai then saw Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be as brilliant as 100 suns. The Lord was covered by a saffron garment. He was large in body and very strongly built, and his eyes were like lotus petals. That was the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's, and Nityananda Prabhu's also similar. It has been described. Ganga tire vruksha mule pindara upare Vasi Achena Yena Koti Surya Udaya Kare, sitting on a rock under a tree on the bank of Ganga, Lord Nityananda Prabhu seemed as effulgent as hundreds of thousands of rising suns. So very apt to this description of the universal from here. The great lords, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna himself, and Nityananda Prabhu Balram is described as thousands and hundreds of thousands of rising suns. And it is also described by King Tatapradra seeing these devotees also as brilliant as many suns. Koti Surya Samasava, Ujjvala Varana, Kabu Nahi, Suni Yei, Madhura Kirtana. Indeed, their effulgence is like the brilliance of the million suns. Nor have I ever heard the names chanted so melodiously. So this is in this way beautifully described. Now, so we can start from. So there are first we'll see some of the reflections on these universal form. What is it teaching? Then we'll go into the directly and to the past times. And first, as a philosophically understanding this, Prabhupada writes about this universal form as the expansion of Kshirodaka Sai Vishnu. It's expansion of Kshirodaka Sai Vishnu in the Madhya Leela, chapter 20, 294 to 298. Prabhupada is talking about Sri Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu, then third, that is Karanodaka Sai Vishnu, then Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu, second, third incarnate Kshirodaka Sai Vishnu. Within the universe, there is a planet near the pole star which is called Kshirodaka Sai planet. That is Vaikuntha within the material. And Lord Vishnu in his incarnation of Antaryami, super soul, is acting as super soul. And he is the universal form. When you think of the universal form of the Lord, that is the manifestation of this Kshirodaka Sai Vishnu. And that Kshirodaka Sai Vishnu as Paramatma, super soul, is situated in everyone's heart, even within the atom also. Antantarastu Paramanu Chayam Tarastam. Paramanu means atom. Within the atom also, we think of God as very great universal, but God can take also form less than the atom. So that's what is being described about the universal form. Now, so there are some of the reflections of the instructions we can see as One must have a strong faith, and we'll see there are almost 5 different places or 6 different places. Lord Krishna personally in that form, Lord Krishna showed universal form. First 2 times to Yashodamai. We'll go to those past times. Yashodamai 2 times. One was while Annie, another one was when he ate mud, dirt. So when he opened, that is second 2 times. Next, very close to each other, close instances in a shorter period of time. And the third instance, we see that when Lord Krishna, before the Kurukshetra war, when he entered into the assembly, Duryodhana tried to capture Krishna. So that is the third instance we see. And then the fourth instance we see, as this verse is described, Lord Krishna showed the universal form to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. That is the fourth one. And then the fifth one we see is Akrura when he is coming back from Vrindavan, taking Krishna and Balram, while coming to Kalindi river or Yamuna, there while taking bath. So that time he sees. Hopefully we'll have enough time. So that is the fifth. And then the sixth one is there described in Mahabharata, Aswamedha Parva, I think. There is a devotee, there is a sage, a friend of Krishna, Uttanka. So that is the sixth pastime, sixth time Lord showed universal form to devotees. These are the 6 instances. And then apart from this, in other incarnations, Lord Vamanadev showed universal form, very brief though. That is explained Canto 8. And then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed universal form to Advaita Acharya. So these are the 8 instances, I would say. And then we'll go into that. But before that, I will give some of the reflections while meditating on this verse I come across. One is to have strong faith. Don't be like Duryodhana. So he didn't have faith. Despite before Lord Krishna speaking, the great details are there. When Lord Krishna walked in, by that time already Bhishma Pitama spoke, Vidra Mahajam spoke multiple times. Parasuram has spoken, Narada Muni has spoken, giving the instances, the sharing how Lord Krishna has killed so many. So you have to understand his supremacy and giving various examples. But he, no faith whatsoever. Completely all his pious credits are lost by Shakuni and others, unwanted religious people association. And Dhritarashtra himself also. And Dhritarashtra calls his queen Gandhari comes and chastises like anything. Dhritarashtra was very mild. And Gandhari was right on. So even then, he is no faith. His faith is not shaken. He's completely in a religious mode, completely in a mode of ignorance, fully covered up. So that's why we need, one must have a strong faith. So that's why Lord is showing this universal form to establish his supremacy, that everything is coming from him. The two-handed form is original form. From there, four-handed form, Narayana form is coming, and then the universal form. These many times, not one time, 2 times, but these many times. Not only he showed it to Arjuna, we'll come to that also, but many others. Not only that celestial eyes, the Divya Chakshu. Oh, does that mean people, those who are in the Mayavadi philosophy or this Brahma philosophy, they think that, oh, here Krishna is saying, nobody ever seen, or this is the highest form, as though they claim it, but it is not so. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Baladev Vidyabhushan and other acharyas, Sridhar Swami, gives that commentary. That doesn't mean that is the highest form. That means he has to come down. That's why he needs a separate eyes for that. Come down from the original two-handed form. He needs a more of a demigod level. So this is not for the actual, the highest form. So that's these things. Anyway, one must have a strong faith. That is the first consideration of reflection. So we shouldn't be like the Duryodhana, because that is the first and foremost point in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is speaking also. Ashrita dhana purusha dharma syasya parantava aprapya mam nivartante mrityu samsara vartamani. In devotional service, if you want to attain Krishna prema, and liberate from this material world, then one must have strong faith. In introduction itself, Prabhupada talks about it. One must have strong faith. You have to take, at least theoretically, accept Krishna as Supreme Lord. Otherwise, there is no no possibility of understanding or going beyond that point. That is the first and foremost. And then further it is talking about the one must have a repeatable, consistent, dedicated efforts. One must have. And we see that Pandavas, despite difficulties, dedicated, consistent, tireless efforts, day after day, executing devotion service. Bhishma Pitama, even though they are the opposite party, but Vidra Mahajan. So they are going through so much, but still they are executing day after day consistently in all these various pastimes where Lord is showing universal form. Many of these exalted devotees. So one must have this repeatable, because that's what, when we are talking about everything is scientific, Krishna constant. That means scientific means not one seeing the result. We can see pratyaksha avagaman dharmam susukam kartum avayam. We ourselves can see the results. Scientific means not one person seeing it, but anybody who is following, they will be able to repeat it. So that's where repeatable, consistent, dedicated. So one must have this experience, means one must engage in this consistent efforts of devotion service. Then we can see the results much more significantly, much more. We can see that revelation in the heart by the Supreme Lord through Guru. We'll be able to really see the results. So Lord will show in different forms and shape. So that is the second one. Third one is the humility. One must have humility. And you see the third verse, what Arjuna is saying. If you think that I am qualified to see, then please show it to me. He is not thinking, oh, I am qualified. If you think that I am qualified, Arjuna is very humbly putting himself. The humility one must, and that will come naturally as you follow the Prabhupada's Pandavacharya's process. And one must constantly keep glorifying the devotees, not for the sake of it, but naturally one must develop that quality, glorifying devotees. Glorifying devotees. Look at the positive qualities of those devotees and glorify on those aspects. So in this way, naturally, our automatically we will become humble. Most of the times, because many times we may not think in the direction. Always we are looking at negative qualities. Rather, we should be glorifying the positive quality. Look at the positive qualities of others. So that way, we'll also lose that the tendency of always looking at the negatives gradually as we do that continuously. And then the fourth aspect, like Arjuna, we should pray and request for instructions if you think that I am qualified. So Arjuna is sincerely praying to the Lord. So many prayers we'll see. Throughout Bhagavad Gita we'll see. So like that, we should also constantly pray for Guru, pray to Srila Prabhupada, Parampara, Lord Nityananda Prabhu, to give us instructions, to inspire us, to give the spiritual strength. On that way, then we'll be able to really progress in devotion service very feelingly, affectionately. One must engage in this way. And then the fifth aspect is there's apparent considerations and absolute considerations we must take. So that is apparent consideration is apar vichar, and absolute consideration is tattva vichar. So we are mostly interested in devotion, pure devotion, so we are interested in absolute consideration. Temporary, because this universal form is temporary. Even for that matter, Paramatma form is only in the material world. In the spiritual world, there is no Paramatma form. There is no need. The Paramatma is there in each and every living being, even in the demigods, in this material world only. In the spiritual world, there is no need of Paramatma. So that is, this is in this world, what we see is everything we are looking at trying to get temporary happiness. Everything we are looking at temporary, but we are not looking at the bigger picture. We are not looking at the ultimate goal. What is favorable for that? So that is the aspect we must see. So that is the angle we should see. That's why Arjuna is asking for the universal form, not that because he wants to see more. So to establish, actually, because he already said Param Brahma Brahm Dham Pavitram Paramam Bhavan already in the previous chapter. Because here he wants to emphasize to the whole world. Anybody who wants to claims to be a god, then he must show the universal. Then he can claim as God. First show the universal form like Krishna has shown. And this another aspect is this universal form, whoever he showed it, it is specific to that individual. Specific to that individual. It was tailored to that person. Different. There are different flavors of this universal form. Where we will see in Arjuna's descriptions and Yashodama's description, it's a little bit different. Even Akrura's description, it's a little bit different. Not exactly the same thing. Slight differences are there. So it's very interesting to see. And then the next one is paying attention to the details. Paying attention to details. So that's why you can see that within that, when he got the Divya Chakshu, celestial eyes, the demigod kind of eyes, what they see form, they want to see the form. They're like on reverence, more on wondrous form. That also aspect is explained. Arjuna in a friendship in Sakya rasa, there are 5 principal rasas: Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhurya. 5 principal rasas in devotion service. Shanta is neutrality. Then you have servitude, Dasya, like Hanuman, Shanta, Dasya. Shanta is in neutrality. Prahlad Maharaj also they say, but we see the trees, the plant, the bees, all in Vrindavan, many of them in neutrality. They're also serving in their own capacity, but in a very mild way. But the servitude is like Lord Hanuman. Many are there, but he is the perfectionist. And then the friendship, we have Arjuna, but there are various grades of friendship. So Arjuna's friendship, in this sense, is close, but he's in with awe and reverence, within a wonder aspect is there. So that's why he's in a Gaurava Sakya. He's not in a Vishramba. He's not in a Vishramba Sakya. Vishramba Sakya, there are 4 kinds of categories of within that friendship. There are 4 categories are there. The well-wisher friends, who are the mostly the elderly boys, or elderly, not boys, elderly gentlemen in the in Vrindavan. And then we have well-wishing friends, and then friends, and the intimate friends, and then even further very confidential friends. Regular friends. There are 4 categories. So the 4th category is the highest, the topmost is the Subal. Subal Saka is the chief among the within that rasa. 1 level down is Priya Narma Sakas is Subal, and 3 others are there. It is mentioned. This is in Nectar Devotion, and also mentioned by Srila Prabhupada in one of the verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita or in Srimad Bhagavatam. It is mentioned about these 4 aspects of the Sri Ram is the most intimate. Vishal is in a friends, regular friends. A nice description is there in NOD chapter 41, I think. And then the Priya Narma friends are Subal, Arjuna, Gandharva, Vasanta, and Ujjvala. And then the topmost out of all, most intimate within that even is Sri Ram, most intimate. In that way we can see that Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhurya. Here Arjuna, that's why is in wonderstruck by seeing that form. And in this specifically for Arjuna, he is seeing universal form little different from all other 7-8 instances I mentioned. In this way, specifically, he's showing, Lord Krishna is showing, actually, his faith was a little weakened to show others. Basically, he had many doubts in the beginning. So he was not sure, why should I fight, or I don't want to fight Bhishma, Drona, all of them. So he is showing already that Bhishma is showing also not only universal form, he is also showing the time factor, the Kala, that has been explained, how Lord enters simultaneously, as it mentioned, Yugapad, simultaneously is entering into 23 elements along with that Kala energy, Kali, Shakti. Then this creation is happening. So in that way, we can understand how the Lord does these activities. So along with the Kala, time I am is telling in this form. And then further on top of it is showing also all the Bhishma, Drona, Karna, everybody, even including on Pandava's side, everybody is dying. So ghastly way it has been shown, and explained. The verses are beautiful verses are there later on in this chapter. That's why this chapter is biggest, big chapter, 55 verses. A lot of verses for especially Arjuna, almost 35 verses or so in this chapter. Arjuna himself is speaking. So this is a specific aspect of Arjuna's universal form showed to Arjuna. In others, it's a little bit different. So in this way, we can understand. So the one more, paying attention to the details, the reflection aspects I was talking about. So one must pay attention to the details of when we are engaging in devotions, whatever minute details, like how Lord showed to Arjuna all the minute details he needs to know, so that he knows. He just need to become an instrument in the hand of Lord. You just need to take the credit. Lord has already done it. That's what he wants to show. He's giving that full confidence to Arjuna. What's going to happen in future? All the personalities being killed. That is what. So these are the some of the reflections, and also we see that universal form. So Lord is completely. He is delegating many of these, as Lord Krishna is not doing any of this. These are all universal form. This Kshirodasai, these are all is a Purusha avatars. Lord Krishna is not engaging. He's completely delegating all of this. So that's why we'll see in Akrura's vision of universal form, there are various energies. Parasya Shaktir Vibhideva Sruyate Swabhavaki Gnana Bala Kriyacha. So multifarious energies are there. So in that, where in Akrura, when he saw the universal form, since we came to that point, anyway, we'll describe. So what he saw, encircling the Lord, worshipping with him, or Nanda, Sunanda, and his other personal attendants, Sanaka and other Kumaras, Brahma, Rudra, and other chief demigod, 9 chief Brahmanas, and the best of the saintly devotees, headed by Prahlad, Narada, Uparichata Vasu. Each of these great personalities was worshipping the Lord by chanting sanctified words of praise in his own unique mode. Also in attendance were the Lord's principal internal potencies. So now you have to pay the attention. The energies. So the 6 opulences we all know. Those 6 opulences, clear names are given. Sri, Pushti, Gir, Kanti, Kirti, Tushti. These are the 6. Sri means potency of wealth. Pushti is strength. Gir is knowledge of knowledge. Kanti is beauty. And then Kirti, fame. Tushti, renunciation. So completely, as we see, Lord is fully renounced. He is not attached to anything, despite having all the 6. And the specific personalities, the names are there. Names of these energies within that 6 opulence. And then further, these are 6 opulence. And then Ila is his Bhu Shakti, also known as Sandhini potency, which is Lord Balram, Sandhini potency. Ila, Bhu Shakti, Sandhini potency. After 6 opulence is the first one. And then we see that, which is the Bhu Shakti, Sandhini potency, is internal potency of whom the element earth is an expansion. Now the next aspect is, after the 6 opulence, Ila is the first one. Second one, Urja, is his internal potency for performing pastimes, which is like the Samvit, Krishna himself takes care of Urja, that is. And then, and Urja's expansion is also, she expands a Tulsi plant in this world. So this is after 6, first one is Ila, Bhu Shakti, and then Urja is another for performing pastimes. She expands a Tulsi plant in this world. Then the next is Shakti, is his internal pleasure potency, Hladini Shakti. This is the third one. And then on top of these 6 opulences, 6 names, and then 3 main potencies, Ila and Urja and Shakti, Hladini Shakti. The 3 others, Vidya and Avidya. So knowledge and ignorance are external potencies who cause the living entities liberation and bonding. And then Maya is an internal potency who is the basis of Vidya and Avidya. This is Yoga Maya. It is internal potency, Yoga Maya. Mahamaya. The other one is the Yoga Maya. The word Cha implies the presence of Lord's marginal energy, Jiva Shakti, and that is also there, who is a subordinate to Maya. Lord Vishnu was being served by all these personified potencies. So in this way, we can understand. This is Akrura's vision. Akrura, when he took the bath, he came out, then he saw, oh, what did I see? Krishna and Balram and all of these personalities. Then he saw on the chariot, they are there. Then again, when he dipped in the water, then he saw all these personalities. Further it is explained. As the great devotee Akrura beheld all this, he became extremely pleased and felt enthused with transcendental devotion. His intense ecstasy caused his bodily hairs to stand on end and tears to flow from his eyes, drenching his entire body, somehow managing to steady himself. Akrura bowed his head to the ground. Then he joined his palms in supplication and in a voice choked with emotion, very slowly and attentively began to pray. So this is also in Krishna book, but the 10th canto, 39th chapter, verse number 55, 56, 57. So now we'll read from the first time when Krishna showed, not first time. This is in Kurukshetra, before Kurukshetra war. Then we'll go to the Yashodamai. So let's see. I hope time will permit. So the universal form showed to various personalities on Kurukshetra, in the assembly of Dhritarashtra, Kuru's assembly, but not everybody is able to see. Here also very interesting. Everybody had to close their eyes. They couldn't tolerate. They couldn't see it because it's so powerful, so lightning. So many thousands of suns. That is explained the same aspect, same way, almost, but little bit different. As Arjuna specifically tailored, it was given. But here it's a little bit specific. Context is different. Situation is different. So let's see how Gandhari is talking about here, and then we'll read that. Gandhari spoke gently, "My dear son, listen as I offer advice meant only for your benefit. It is my, before that also, what is it? Yeah, she chastised like Dhritarashtra like anything. Your son is full of lust and greed. Only by your blessings has he obtained this kingdom, which which he in no way deserves. O king, although you know he is sinful, you support him out of fondness. For this, you are as much to blame for the present situation as he is. It will be difficult now to check Duryodhana. A very important aspect. Yes, you can pamper this morning or yesterday morning. I think we were talking about this in the class. We can pamper the child to some extent. To the degree we can pamper, but not to the extent that he's been taken away from devotion service. So, to the degree we pamper him, like Duryodhana here, Dhritarashtra, he knows, he already knows. And still, he's just simply pampered. He didn't say anything. He didn't restrict him. He didn't correct him from the beginning. So, and this is the result. Later on, because once he grows up, once he's in that attitude, if you don't stop him from that, then he cannot. Later on, it will be very difficult. No possibility for him to change his consciousness, behavior. It becomes too much. So that's what here Gandhari criticized. Gandhari strongly told. And then further, and then she's speaking to Duryodhana now. Follow your elders' guidance, my son. Reap the fruits of your virtue. You want to control the earth only because you are full of sense, desire, and anger. You do not know that only by overcoming those two impulses can a man attain success in life. One who is controlled by his senses cannot control the kingdom. Only after conquering ourselves can we conquer the earth. Otherwise, it is not possible. The uncontrolled senses are powerful enough to kill a man, just as untrained horses can kill an incompetent driver. Prosperity always attends the king who has mastered his passions and who stands ready to chastise offenders, acting only after careful consideration. He who gives in to a desire and wrath will lose everything in the end. Such a man cannot even attain heaven. Therefore, strive to control your senses. For in this lies your greatest good. Gandhari spoke from her own realization. Since the Pandavas' exile, she had begun to practice asceticism, feeling guilty for the way the Kurus had insulted Draupadi. She fasted and performed constant sacrifices. She practiced penance, praying that her licentious son might somehow be brought to his senses, but that seemed impossible. His heart was steeped in greed and envy, but he could not recognize these qualities in himself. Very important instructions, very important instructions. As devotees also, we have to be very careful. We have to understand what is in our heart, what's going on with us. So it's very important. Confidentially, we need to share. We need to discuss with someone who, in confidence, whoever that is, directly Guru or Siksha Guru or whoever that is. Because otherwise, it's very difficult how to come out of it. So further, it has been described where Krishna had to show the universal form. It is described. Duryodhana could, yeah. Then Duryodhana told them, everybody now capture Krishna. Then let's see what Krishna did. Krishna laughed, and as he did, his body suddenly flashed like lightning. He began to grow in size, and various gods issued from him. Brahma sprang from his forehead, Shiva from his chest. The Lokapala sat on his arms. Agni appeared from his mouth. Then Indra and the Maruts appeared along with hosts of Gandharvas, Yakshas, Rakshasas. From his two eyes came Balarama and Arjuna, who stood on his left and right side. Behind him stood Yudhishthira, Bhima, and the twins, And behind him were the Vrishnis and Nandakas, headed by Pradyumna. Krishna's mace, discus, and clubs, weapons appeared, blazing brilliantly. His pores emanated light, sparks, and clouds of smoke. The sight was too frightening. Almost everyone in the assembly closed their eyes. Only Bhishma, Drona, Vidura, Sanjaya were able to look upon Krishna as he manifested his universal form. See, this is what it is. It requires some pious bhakti, unmuka sukruti. Without that, there is no possibility. My dear friends, this is what it is. So that's why we have to make this point. Conscious efforts, we have to make it. The rishis also gazed upon him, folding their palms and offering prayers. The sky resounded with celestial drums and flowers showered from the heavens into the hall. Sanjaya described the event to Dhritarashtra, who said, now see the mercy. And this is also another aspect of another reflection I had, compassion. Arjuna is very compassionate. Lord Krishna is also very compassionate. Let's see what he says. Oh Krishna, you are ever doing good for the world. Therefore, it is right that you should bless me with the eyes to see your form. O best of the Yadavas, I pray for the sight to see you. O Kiru leader, let your eyes have sight. Krishna replied. And immediately Dhritarashtra could see him standing within the great hall. He also saw numerous gods approaching Krishna and worshipping him with the Vedic mantras. Outside the hall, a fierce wind blew. Huge waves moved over the ocean and thunder claps and reverberated in the sky. The earth trembled. The hall was in tumult. Krishna withdrew his mystical form and again assumed the two-armed form. Taking permission from the rishis, he left the hall holding the hands of Satyaki and Krutavarma. The rishis, headed by Narada, rose from their seats and vanished, their minds astonished. Dhritarashtra again became blind and he sat in silent amazement. So this is the one of the description of the universal form. How amazing it is. So Lord Krishna is very mercifully is showing this universal form to here to who Dhritarashtra. More than Dhritarashtra, it was Bhishma and Vidura first. Then he showed it to others. Then Dhritarashtra requested it. Then Lord Krishna finally showed it to. Now we'll see the Yashodamai in 10:7:35 to 36, Canto 10. O King Parikshit, when the child Krishna was almost finished drinking his mother's milk and Mother Yashoda was touching him, looking at his beautiful, brilliantly smiling face, the baby yawned, and Mother Yashoda saw in his mouth the whole sky, the higher planetary system, and the earth, luminaries in all directions, the sun, the moon, fire, air, the seas, islands, mountains, rivers, forests, and all kinds of living entities, moving and non-moving. By arrangement of Yogamaya, Krishna's pastimes with Mother Yashoda were all regarded as ordinary. So here was an opportunity for Krishna to show his mother that the whole universe is situated within him. In his small form, Krishna was kind enough to show his mother the Virat Rupa, the universal form, so that she could enjoy seeing what kind of child she had on her lap. The rivers have been mentioned here as the daughters of the mountains. It is the flowing of the river that make big forests possible. So further, this is the first time we are seeing. When the mother Yashoda saw the whole universe within the mouth of her child, her heart began to throb, and in astonishment, she wanted to close her restless eyes. Because of pure eternal love, Mother Yashoda thought that this is wonderful child playing so many tricks must have had some disease. She did not appreciate the wonder shown by her child. Rather, she wanted to close her eyes. She was expecting another danger. Therefore, her eyes became restless like those of a deer cow. And this was all arrangement of Yogamaya. So this is different from, you see, so Yashoda is in a different category altogether. And we see differently. That's why from Arjuna, it is a little bit different. He's more on a wonder, even though he's in a friendship rasa, but more on wonder. But Yashoda is completely in the deepest parental relationship, higher than Devaki and Vasudeva. She didn't had the similar experience of chance of like Yashodamai. Yashodamai is in the highest rasa. So now let's see the second time Yashoda see. This is the 10th canto, 8th chapter. When Krishna opened his mouth wide by the order of Mother Yashoda, she saw within his mouth all moving and non-moving entities, outer space and all directions, along with mountains, islands, oceans, the surface of the earth, blowing wind, fire, moon, stars. She saw the planetary systems, water, light, air, sky, and creation by transformation of Ahankara. She also saw the senses, mind, sense perception, three qualities: goodness, passion, ignorance. She saw the time allotted for the living entities. She saw natural instinct and the reactions of karma. She saw desires and different varieties of bodies, moving and non-moving. Seeing all these aspects of cosmic manifestation, along with now the difference of this is Arjuna saw Kurukshetra aspect of it. There. Now, what Yasodama is seeing? She is seeing herself. She is seeing a Vrajadham, Vrindavan Dham. She is seeing at the end. You'll see here it is explained. Seeing all the aspects of the cosmic manifestation along with herself and Vrindavana Dhama, she became doubtful and fearful of her son's nature. So very nice description here. So this is the Yasodamai's description. Mother Yashoda began to argue within herself. Is this a dream or is it an illusion creation by the external energy? Has this been manifested by my own intelligence or is it some mystic power of my child? So she began to argue. Then, but finally she forgot. So this that has been described. So in the interest of time, I'm not reading further. Otherwise, it's nice pastime. That's in Krishna book also. Beautiful description Prabhupada gives. Nice to read. Prabhupada. So now, I'll turn to Gaur Leela a little bit. So now, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because without Gaura and Nityananda Prabhu, we cannot go anywhere. So let's get some mercy here. So real mercy from Advaita Acharya. So what is describing here? So they all pacified. So where? No. Lord is asking. हासिए ताकुरा बले सुना है आचार्य की तुम्हारा इच्छा बला के वी वा चाह करिया. The Lord smiled and said, listen Acharya, what is your desire? Tell me, what can I do for you? Advaita balaye tumi sarva veda sar, tu mere chaho prabhu ki chahibe aar. Advaita replied, you are the essence of all the Vedas. I simply want you. Oh Lord, what else I need? What else could I need? Asi bale prabhu ami yehi ta sakshate. Ara kai amare chahe bala ta amate. The Lord smiled and said, I am right here. Tell me, what else you want? Advaita balaye prabhu kahila sa susatya. Ei tumi sarva veda vedante tattva. Advaita then replied, oh Lord, whatever you said is completely true. You are the only subject matter of the Vedas and the Vedanta. तथापिहा वैभव देखिते किचु चाही प्रभु बोले की वा इच्छा बला Maratani. Still, I wish to see some of your opulences. The Lord said, tell me exactly what you want. Advaita balaye Prabhu purve Arjunere yata dekaile tata icha bada kare. Nice question. Advaita replied, oh Lord, I have a strong desire to see the form that you previously displayed to Arjuna. So, wow. Balite Advaita matre deke eka ratha chaturdige sainya dale maha yuddha pata. Yugapata, now here Yuddhapata. Similar words. As Advaita spoke these words, he saw the chariot surrounded by armies engaged in warfare on a battlefield. Ratera upare deke Shamala Sundara, Chaturbhuja Sankha Chakra Gada Padmadara. He saw on the chariot a handsome blackish personality with 4 hands holding the conch shell, disc, club, and lotus. Ananta Brahmanda Rupa deke Sei Kshane. Chandra Surya Sindhu Giri Nadi Upavane. He then saw the Lord's universal form consisting of innumerable universes, moons, suns, oceans, mountains, rivers, and forests. Koti Chakshu Bahu Mukha Deke Puna Puna Samuke Dekhaye Stuti Karaye Arjuna. He saw the millions of eyes, arms, faces. Then he also saw Arjuna offering prayers before the Lord. Maha Agni Yena Jole Sakala Vadana Pudaye Pasanda Patanga Dustagana. Great fires emanated from the mouths of the universal form and burned the thieves and miscreants who entered those fires like moths. Ye papista paraninde paradroha kare chaitanyera mukagnite si pudi mate. Any sinful person who blasphemes or tortures others is burned to ashes in the fire emanating from Lord Chaitanya's mouth. Ye rupa dekite anyera shakti nai. Prabhura Krupate Deke Acharya Goswami. No others have the power to see this form of the Lord. Advaita Acharya was able to see it by the mercy of the Lord. Here there are many. This is in Sriva Sangan, this happened, but nobody else could see. Only Advaita Acharya Prabhu and Nityananda Prabhu. That's it. Unless we have the mercy of the Lord, it is not possible. Prema Sukhe Advaita Kandane Kanurage Dante Trinakari Puna Puna Dasyam Mage. Advaita cried in ecstatic love of intense attachment, taking straw between his teeth. He repeatedly begged for the Lord's service. Meanwhile, Nityananda Prabhu, thus wandering throughout Nadia in great ecstasy. Since Nityananda knows all the Lord's manifestation, he understood that the Lord was displaying his universal form. He quickly came to Sriva's house where the Lord was and roared loudly outside the temple door. Realizing that Nityananda had arrived, Visvambara quickly opened the door. As Nityananda saw the Lord's form consisting of innumerable universes, he closed his eyes and fell to the ground, offering obeisances. The Lord said, "Get up, Nityananda, you are my life and soul. You know everything about me. I certainly belong to one who loves you. For no one is more dear to me than you. Anyone who distinguishes between you and Advaita does not properly know the intricacies of the incarnations." Looking at the form of Viswamana, Nityananda and Advaita began to dance in ecstasy within the temple room. So in this way, this pastime also continues. So in the interest of time, we have to quickly read. There is another one. So where we're talking about Uttanka. The description is there. Where in the, this is in what Parva? This is in Ashwamedha Parva, I think, 14th chapter, 54, within the 14th chapter, 54 section. So then when, after that, this is Kurukshetra, after Kurukshetra war. So it is mentioned that Lord manifested his universal form to Uttanka in the Mahabharata 14th Ashwamedha Parva. There we read just after war at Kurukshetra, Krishna journeyed to Dwaraka and on the way met an old friend, the sage Uttanka. They stopped to talk and Krishna apprised him of details of the war. Uttanka found it disconcerting that Krishna did not stop the proceedings. Since he certainly had the power to do so, as their conversation grew more heated, Uttanka threatened to curse. Is the sage Uttanka. Different descriptions are there. In different parvas, different details are there. One says is the disciple of Gautama. One says is the disciple of Veda. And then in both instances, there was a pastime of Uttanka asking Guru Dakshina. He very religiously, very seriously and committedly, consistently, day after day served his Guru for many, many, many years. So then he asked, how can I, what Guru Dakshina can I give? And then asked Guru's wife. She said, go and ask my. They wanted earrings. Those earrings are not ordinary. Within 3 days, but he was able to go. There is a big pastime, but I will not read that. So that is Uttanka. So Uttanka threatened to curse the Lord with his yogic powers, but Krishna told him such a curse would be ineffectual, since as God, he was the source of all mystic powers. He is Yogeshwara. Uttanka doubted that Krishna was powerful enough to avoid the curse, and so he challenged him. Is it so? Are you the universal Lord himself? If so, please prove it to me. Krishna then manifested his Virat Rupa. Uttanka was particularly blessed. Mahabharata tells us that he saw the same vision that Krishna had previously shown Arjuna. Awestruck, Uttanka glorified Krishna's many superlative attributes, and as an instances of Yashoda and Arjuna beseeched him to withdraw his overwhelming manifestation. Krishna did so, and then offered Uttanka a boon. He showed him that he would have water whenever he needed it and would never go thirsty. So this helped him later on. So in this way we can see this is another instance of Lord showing universal form. So we saw Akrura, Yashodamai 2 times, and then we saw the assembly of Kurus, and then we saw the Uttanka, then we also saw now this Advaita Acharya. Now we also see that Bali Maharaj, Vaman Dev, so it's been described also. Lord Brahma and all the predominating deities of the various planetary systems began to worship Lord Vaman Dev and their spiritual master, who had reduced himself from his all-pervading form to his original form. They collected all the ingredients and paraphernalia for his worship. The Prabhupada writes in 821.5. Vaman Dev first expanded himself to the universal form, then reduced himself to the original Vaman Rupa. Thus he acted exactly like Lord Krishna, who at the request of Arjuna first showed his universal form and later resumed his original form as Krishna. So in this way, we can see the beautiful details of this universal form. So let's see anything else I missed. So described the Gora Lila aspects. We described the on top of the universal form, Kala factor, ghastly, and then how Bhishma, Drona, Karna dying and, as a delegated. So Kala Sakti, Kali has been engaged, and Krishna is delegating all these aspects. Described the Visramba Sakya, yes, well-wishers, friends, confidential friends, and intimate friend. That's been described. Then what else? Then the aspect of where who and all else saw it has been described, that now it is understood that for seeing the war, devas, asuras, gandharvas, kinnaras, and others who are friendly or neutral had gathered. Not only Arjuna was given celestial eyes, they are also given celestial eyes by the Lord to see this form. If only Arjuna could see that form, it would have been like a sleeping person seeing the chariots or other objects in a dream, while others could not see them. The Lord made this display so that many others could bear witness to his powers. It is understood that now, for seeing the war, devas, asuras, gandharvas, kinnaras, and others who are friendly, neutral, gathered. Not only Arjuna was given celestial eyes, they also were given celestial eyes by the Lord to see this form. If only Arjuna could see this form, it would have been like a sleeping person seeing chariots or other objects in a dream, while others could not see them. The Lord made this same thing. Yeah, more or less. This is in Baladev Vidyabhushan is describing. So how it is under Sridhar Swami is also explaining. With this, I will stop. Much more to say, but with Sridhar Swami's commentary. Sridhar Swami explains that attempts to reconcile this issue by interpreting Tvad Anyena in 47 as Tvad Ashrad Bhaktad Anyena, by someone other than the devotee like you, meaning that only great devotees have seen it. This, of course, would allow for Yashoda and others to have witnessed the form before Arjuna did it. Moreover, Sridhar Swami's commentary correlates with Sanskrit in Bhagavad Gita, which indicates that no one before Arjuna amongst those who exist in this world of man had seen the universal form. Another component of resolution comes from Prabhupada, who has already quoted, writes in his commentary, text 40, at that time Krishna manifested some of his universal form, but those forms are different from this one shown to Arjuna. It is clearly said that no one has ever seen this form before. So there are variations in universal form, and this too can resolve the dilemma. So that is, no one has seen exact universal form that Krishna showed to Arjuna at that time. So in this way, we can understand the various aspects of, and there are the beautiful descriptions are also there in later in Antalila about this, how the Lord's form is described, the brilliance of suns, beautiful descriptions are there, 3-4 verses, Rupa Goswami writing Lalita Madhav. But I will stop here. Thank you. Any questions, comments, reflections? Please do so. Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhaktan ki jai. Janaki Mataji has a question. Go ahead.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you for the class, Prabhuji. I have 3 questions, maybe 4, but I'll ask slowly.
Go ahead.
The Gaura Leela pastimes, which of the devotees, like who was a representation in Gaura Leela, like how Krishna revealed the form as his real form in Kurukshetra battle to Arjuna. So who was Arjuna in Gaur Leela?
Was Arjuna in Gaur Leela? Ramananda Rai in Gaur Leela is Arjuna, but Ramananda Rai is also other aspect is Vishaka Sakya also, and then one more also. I think 3 aspects of Ramananda Rai is there. One is Arjuna also. So in that way,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. Second question was, we spoke about one of the realizations saying strong faith. So my question on that was to clarify one thing.
Yes.
We say that Maya is strong, but I also came across one of Srila Prabhupada's saying where he's mentioning Maya is not at all strong. Our desire to go back to Krishna is not strong. Our consciousness towards Krishna is not strong. Our determination to serve Krishna is not strong. And that's why we feel that Maya is strong. So, based on his words and understanding, we mentioned that we supposed to have strong faith, and also we understand and we hear so many things that Maya is so strong. Maya is so strong all the times. So
So,
I just
what is
wanted
your
to
question?
I wanted
Yeah.
to understand this, that the words Prabhupada is saying is true, but we give so much significance saying that, oh, Maya is so strong. Oh, we are so conditioned. So, Maya is also having a strong influence on conditioned jivas. So I just
Yeah.
wanted to get understanding on that to purify the faith, how we can be more stronger.
Yeah. In a simply, we can understand that as what Srila Prabhupada meant is Maya is strong in the sense that we should be always careful. We should not be slackened. We should not think that, oh, I'm great devotee. Maya cannot do anything. Those instances are there. And immediately Maya captured. Many instances are there. So that's why it's always, even Prabhupada himself was showing examples. Prabhupada himself used
Hmm.
to pray every day, let me not attracted by Maya. Every day he is praying to the deities. He is putting humbly in position. He is a pure devotee. He doesn't need to pray. But still he is showing by his own example. And all the
Hmm.
acharyas we can see, yeah, they are in that humble mood. So let me become an insect, but serve. Always keep me in your service. They're always thinking that I'm not a devotee yet. Everybody else is devotee. So they are, because that is a natural position. They are. We cannot imitate that. They are. They are really, because Uttamatikari stage. That's how they feel. But we are not in that state to feel like that. We cannot imitate. So we should be
Hmm.
always be fearful of Maya. At the same time, we should be so staunch followers of Guru and Sri Prabhupada that we should have strong faith that no matter what, I should follow my Guru and Sri Prabhupada, and they will take care. I don't need to worry about anything. I just need to hear and follow their instruction. Where they will take, how they will engage, that is their job. I need to do my job, they will do their job. So,
Hmm.
and then we have to keep praying. Let Maya not attract me. So, in
Hmm.
this way, that is what Prabhupada meant.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. The other last question was on fault finding, and
Yes.
this is because somewhere or the other, all of us, I I can speak on things like in aspect of a fault finding. I was just trying to reflect and meditate that we are still sadhakas, and so if somewhere or the other we have that propensity inside of us. But in the practice, we are purifying, and also sometimes because situations or circumstances may be such that that propensity is also highlighting in the forefront. So I wanted to ask you, I know we said that we have to ignore the negative attributes and qualities and focus only on positives, but I wanted to just get some understanding to get more clarity.
Yeah. I would say, means just, yeah, concentrate. It comes by practice. It doesn't come just abhyasa yoga tena chetasa nanigam. So unless we have consistent practice of the sadhana of the chanting and the hearing, and then association of those devotees who are more positively inclined, not so much concerned about these negative qualities. So that is one aspect. Other aspect is, see, our ultimate goal, how strong we are. This morning class I was discussing when Dhruva Maharaj, when he came back,
Yes,
he was not he was
I'm
not
going to call
attracted.
it.
Rather, he was repenting. Somebody has to go on mute, I think. Yes, so he was not. He was repenting, but when he came back, even Surichi also was not envious, and everybody was jubilant. Everybody is became friendly, and Dhruva Maharaj is also in that same mode. No enviousness, no jealousy. He's always looking at positive and is sharing. Is compassionate. So everybody is jubilantly also offering blessings and affectionately seeing Dhruva Maharaj in this way. So I was saying, so I was just sharing my reflections. What it means is when we see the ultimate goal, the objective, the end goal, in that way, then even things will go on wrong. Nobody is perfect in this world. So things go on wrong within the family life also. Just reflecting. So there will be, nobody is there. It has been described, I think, from Ramayana. Yeah, we read Ramayana from that 5 minutes. So in that, there is a description where when Lord Ramachandra was being banned to Vanavas, then Dasharatha Maharaj was lying down grief stricken, and then is that Kausalya? Yeah, Kausalya Suprajaram Purva Sandhya. So Kausalya was speaking like very strong words to Dasharatha Maharaj. What you have done because of your attraction to Kaikeyi, you didn't even realize what you are doing is a big mistake. And so many people you have given now grief stricken, this sorrow, this lamentation, because of your attachment to Kaikeyi. You should not have done this great blunder. So many things like this mentioned. And then where it is written that these are, but on the next day, then she was normal. She came back to normal, and they both reconciled, and then moved on. So there, I was reflecting and sharing that this is the way. The attitude must be to the target, end goal. Small things will go on. This devotee said that, that person that did that. Where is the time? We have only 20, 30 years. Within that also, we have only few hours, or maybe out of 20, 30, 40 years. If you remove everything else, maybe it will come down to 10, 15 years. Time for devotion service, maybe, or even less. We don't have much time. If you keep on concentrating on this, that, then you're not concentrating on Krishna. While chanting, also those thoughts only will come. Where are we going to go? So that should be our reflection. That should be constant reflection. So then we will not be worried about this, that. Okay, let it go. Move on. Let it go. Just move on. No point just dragging on like anything. Oh, he has done this. I also need to do the same. It's not going to work. That Sri Prabhupada showing by his example also. One time, one person, he was a close associate, but he was attacked Prabhupada like anything. While in the big assembly, he was speaking in a Christian church. And Prabhupada was giving some preaching, and then he started attacking within that assembly. How can you do this? You should go back to India. Why did you come here and preach? Why do you need to preach all this in front of all of them? Prabhupada didn't utter a single word. And later on also, this is only Gopal Krishna Goswami is sharing in his memories. And when he came back also, then Prabhupada after a few days, a few months, and then he was there also, that person. Then Prabhupada told Maharaj, call that person. Then he gave his blessings and everything. Then Maharaj said, Prabhupada, he has done so much, he attacked you like anything. How can you give blessings and all this? Means how much you are affectionate, and so then he couldn't understand why. So then, yes, this must be my previously I might have said or done something. So that's why, so I had to face this. So Prabhupada is teaching a lesson, putting humbly his position. So this is what we have to learn. If somebody would have said something, then this is not something, doesn't happen automatically without having. For everything there is a cause. There is no such thing in this world is by chance. If you are practicing devotion service, be grounded in this fact that there is no such thing as by chance. Everything is happening karanam gurasangasya sadasat janmayal, period. So there is no other understanding about it. So then we have to see that perspective. At the same time, if you are a leader, somebody has to be, again, if it is affecting only you, then you ignore and do as best as possible. But if it is affecting more people, if it is affecting the Lord, if it is affecting devotions of his standard peoples and the whole temple, then it must be brought to the attention of the leader, or whoever, region, whatever the case may be. This is the general, criteria, considerations we must take into account. So, but we must always look at this bigger picture. We don't have much time. That is the reality. Whether we like it or not, we don't have much time. So we should be after this. So then we will not have so much to drag on to with all these things. So that is my take on it. Mataji.
Wonderful, Prabhuji. Thank you. Much needed lesson.
Anyone else? 8:15. To close, I think.
Can you hear me, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Amrutam, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
All Krishna Prabhupada. This is regarding the Paramatma, what you had mentioned. Now we
Yes.
know that Paramatma is the expansion of Shirodakshaya Vishnu, which is in the material world, correct?
Correct.
Every jiva and even in the inanimate objects.
Yes.
But I think earlier this week on Rumapad Swami's question answer digest, someone had asked a question, does Paramatma exist in the spiritual world? And then Maharaj had given the reference of Radhika Raman Prabhu, who did his PhD in these studies. And he had mentioned that Paramatma manifests as Narayana in the Vaikuntha spiritual loka. So that was one thing, and I was wondering if there's any significance. So we can understand in the material world, he's as a witness.
Right.
He sanctions, man proposes, God disposes.
Right. Yeah.
The sanctioner. But
if that is the question, or clarification or reflection, or means you want to understand that, I think from my point, based on what I have read, Srila Prabhupada has clearly stated, Paramatma is Kshirodakasaya Vishnu, is expansion of Garbhodakasaya Vishnu. Kshirodakasaya Vishnu is expansion of Garbhodakasaya Vishnu. They are Purusha avatars. But who's the origin? If you go back to Lord Narayan. In that way, so they might have quoted probably Jiva Goswami, I don't know. So in that way, also we can understand, yes, the Purusha avatars, the original, the where they are coming from, they are the expansion of Lord Narayan. And then second was the Sankarsana Pradyumna. From that second Sankarsana, Moola Sankarsana coming, these three Purusha avatars. In that way, they have the origin is Lord Narayan, but the origin of Lord Narayan is Lord Krishna. So in that way, we can understand. But in spiritual world, Prabhupada has mentioned in multiple places, in multiple books, that Paramatma, there is no Paramatma in spiritual, because there is no need, because Lord is personally interacting, whether it's Lord Narayana form or Rama form, Varaha form, or Lord Krishna. So different forms, directly personal devotees, everybody, not only human being, not only man or woman or tree or plant or creeper or bug, every jiva is there and everyone can interact, whether it's closely or little bit in a distance, through another devotee, through another, whatever the case may be. So that is there. So in that way, we have to see. At least that's what I understood as, unless I see clearly some quotation from our acharyas, then we can understand it differently. But this is what clearly. And Virat Rupa also, there is a different explanations. In this specific explanation of where is this? This is in Madhya Leela, chapter 20, verse number 294 to 298. Prabhupada is talking about this expansion of Tiroda Sai Vishnu. In another place, 1331, I think. There, Prabhupada is talking about our Canto 2, second or third chapter, or first chapter. There, Prabhupada is talking about universal form is more imaginary, temporary. Obviously, yes, material world, anything we see is a temporary. So the imaginary also, this is more for neophytes. It is not meant for devotees. So that way also we can understand. So both aspects we can see. That's my reflection, or my thought.
if no one has another question, if I can ask another one, or maybe someone else can go.
Let me see.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I had a question. Prabhuji, you did mention that it's imaginary. Like, if you can help me understand, like, I don't know, temporary understand, but how can we explain that the universal form is imaginary, Prabhuji?
Basically, because let's say if somebody neophytes has to understand, because they understand, they cannot accept, somehow conceive this idea of the Supreme Lord as a form. So what they see is, oh yes, we have a head, we have eye, we have a hand. Oh, they are imagining that, oh, these many. So Lord also has a head, Lord also has eyes, Lord also has, all this. And then there's a description given that you meditate on these aspects of the Lord. And then obviously universal form means thousands of head, thousands of eyes, thousands of legs. And then the mountains are the bones, and the rivers are the hair. In this way it is described. So these are all in that way. For them it is imagined because they can't conceive it. Neither they can see it. Arjuna could see it, Bhishma could see it, Dronacharya could see, Yasodamai could see, but others could not see. Even when they presented all these, even Duryodhana and all rest of them, except the sages and these personalities exalted, they were able to see. Then rest of them closed their eyes. Even though Lord is presenting, they are not able to see it because they don't have qualification. So in that way, so for neophytes, even to understand or see or come to the grips of it, it is imaginary for them. Okay, even if it is imaginary, go for it. At some point after doing this meditation, then you will come to the reality, and then you accept the Lord, at least some form of the Lord, and then move up the ladder. That's what my understanding and reflection on that.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. That's really nice. Haribol, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else? Amritanandra, go ahead quickly and then we can wrap it up soon.
What's the purpose of Krishna as Bal Gopal, showing the Virat Roop to Mother Yashoda? We can understand with Arjun, it was more as an instruction for awe and reverence. So what was the need to show Mother Yashoda?
Yeah, as we read in the purport, I read only briefly. I didn't have a chance to hear from, because there are many acharyas commentaries up there on the 10th canto. I didn't have time to hear, but we can get more understanding when we hear. But from Sri Prabhupada's commentary there are his disciples, I think probably this is the 9th chapter. I think Prabhupada only did. Prabhupada only did. I think in the commentary it is mentioned to understand that what kind of a son she had, what kind of son she had. So Krishna wants to show that you didn't had ordinary child. Yes, for Devaki, Krishna appeared as four-handed Narayana form. Then she knows, because Lord wants to make sure that she understands that Krishna, I myself appeared. She doesn't have any confusion or doubt. So that's why she appeared. But in the case of Yasodamai, Dara, and I forget the other name. So they appeared as Nanda and Yasoda. So the Yasodamai, for that didn't happen. And then here in this specific pastime, Lord wants to show actually I'm the supreme person. I have all these mystic powers. I have all this. You're not holding a ordinary baby. And at the same time, pastime is there. He is eating the dirt, and then he wants to show this majestical aspect of it. And at the same time, he wants to show that my pure devotees will never, even if I show Lord Narayana like gopis didn't want it, he offered obeisance. Did you see Krishna like that? Say, the Lord wants to show it to the whole world. My pure devotees never want anything other than my own personal two-handed form. That's all they want. Nothing else. Even if I show, they will not understand, or they will close their eyes, or they will think, oh, it is just some dream or some magic or something else. That's what Yashodamai thought. So that's what Lord wants to teach through different devotees had different visions, and then through these medium, Lord wants to showcase how the devotees, different degrees of devotees, see it differently, and then relate it differently. They reciprocate, or they have these thoughts and reflections. Yashodama is at the highest level so far what we have heard in all these devotees who saw the universal. Obviously, Advaita Acharya and Nityananda Prabhu is a different case. I'm talking about others like Arjuna or the Bhishma or Drona or Rottanka, whoever others saw it. Yashodama is at the topmost level in that category. So obviously, she didn't thought of any of the no wonder, nothing. She thought it must be a dream, it must be some magic. I need to pray. Then she started offering prayers. I didn't read further. She started offering prayers to Lord Narayan, please protect my child. I heard from Vasudev that Kamsa is going to send. So she had all those thoughts coming up one by one. So that is my reflections, Prabhu.
Okay, Prabhu. Thanks.
So glories to Sri Prabhupada. I think it's in the interest of time, 8:26. We'll conclude. Mr. Prabhu is also busy at another line.
Thank you,
You're
Prabhu.
back.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you for a wonderful class. Thank you for wonderful questions. So let's conclude today's session. Vancha kalpatarubhasya kripa sindhu bhevaja patidanam Vishnu Vrinda ki jai. Vrinda Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananda Kodi Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Okay.
Thank you.